Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is August 6th, 2026, and here's how I made $1,153.40 across 5 of my accounts, totaling to $5,767. So let's get into it. Now, coming into the new day open, we are respecting these monthly and weekly gaps. ES just took out all-time highs again, and the daily is extremely bullish, closing above this swing high right here. So I'm obviously originally going to look for longs, but we have this daily bullish gap right here. And if we drop down to the 30-minute time frame, it is technically bearish after closing below this low right here. The 1 hour time frame, it is technically bearish, closing below the low right there. And the 4 hour time frame, we have a closure below this low right here. So I am going to look for either some kind of long if we hit the daily gap when the new day opens up, or some kind of short if we manipulate into these 1 hour and 30-minute gaps that we left behind up here, to then take me to the daily, to then continue later on to go back up, back to all-time highs on the NASDAQ. Now, if we go onto the 30-minute, we have a gap right here. And with ES taking all-time highs, we also have a bearish SMT. So I'm looking for some sort of sell if we pull back into these gaps, and some sort of buy if we pull back into this daily gap right here. Now we also have a gap on the 1 hour right here. So once the day opens on the 30-minute, actually well on the 5-minute. Once the day opens on the 5-minute, you can see we tap into this gap right here. Now, out of 1 hour and 30-minute gaps, I look for a 1-minute change in state, IFVG, break of structure, market structure shift, whatever you want to call it, to take us back to the downside. Now, I'm waiting for that. Once we tap it here, we don't get it here because we would have to close below this low. We pull back up. I'm waiting for us to close below this low, put in this low right here, place some more candles. We resweep this high and immediately put in a nice wick showing clear rejection, IFVG, change in the state, break of structure right here. So I enter this trade right here from the inversion after seeing this wick all the way at the top. That's clear manipulation, sweeping out right EQ of the range right here as well. Now I have my overarching target is the daily gap, which was my TP for a 4.85R. And I added in one more contract after we displaced a little bit through. So I averaged my position to about 646 right there for about a 3.4R, but originally it was higher R. I only added 1 micro after that. And as you can see, it plays out super nice. It does take a while, and we end up hitting a 30-minute gap right here. Now, since I'm overall bearish to at least the daily, since every time frame is showing that, I didn't really think too heavy about this. I just waited for us to close below it, and it did cause a little bit of a reaction. Now, I could have went break even and gotten break even if I chose to do that, but a lot of the times with my entry model, we pull back up to this area because we're respecting like the ICT 2022 model, where we create these lows and then manipulate. Then we pull back into the area where we decided to then break structure to go to the downside and then continue our trend like over here. So I didn't end up going break even there. And I went break even after we reswept the 30-minute low we originally put in right here, because that's what caused our reaction. So once we closed below this, especially with this crazy displacement before a session even opened, that was enough for me to go break even. Now, Asia session did open during this trade right over here. So once again, once there's a session open, I do like to go break even, especially if we are very far down in the range. Now, if we're kind of up top, I might hold. It depends on the setup and how I'm feeling. But as you can see, Asia opened and we did pull back a little bit, and it took a while. We had to generate a lot of sell side to then take us to the daily gap, but we ended up hitting it right at the hourly open at 8 o'clock. So some time frame synced liquidity grabs, but overall pretty good setup, super textbook. Now later on in the night, there was another setup because once we hit the daily, I'm then looking for longs after we break structure on the 15-minute, and we did not end up doing that. Now we create a couple 30-minute gaps on the way down. Let's get rid of this. You can see we create this 30-minute gap right here. So this was somewhere where I was like, okay, maybe we'll pull back into this, not respect the daily yet, and then I could take continuation shorts again. Now, the only reason I didn't take this as well was because if we place some candles out, we do end up tapping it, but on the hourly, we also made a gap, which we inversed with very clear displacement and a nice wick down here. So I wasn't too confident in taking shorts. I just took it on my paper trading account. And as you can see, once we tap that gap and we get our entry right over here, closing below the low, that swept into it right there. You giving us our market structure shift. You can see we then would target the next swing low to then continue, sweep this out to then maybe continue higher inside the daily gap. And what we do is we chop around for almost like 8 hours. And it takes forever. I think it works around maybe 4 in the morning. It gets super close. If I did take this, I probably would have gotten break-evened or trailed, because we hit a 30-minute gap right here and then had a break of structure to the upside, which could have been an indication that we're going to start respecting the daily gap. So I didn't take this. It was only 1 or 2, and I already had my piece of the pie for the day. But I still think this was a good trade. And then there was another trade later on in the night as well with another 30-minute that we made from this gap, I believe, right there. So we take this right here, drop down to the 1 minute. This was also like a 2-hour trade. Once we get our market structure shift right here, after closing below this low right there, stop at the protected high, target sell side. This trade also plays out for the night, continue to show us that we are bearish. Now, other than that, those are the 2 setups that I took for the night. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. Other than that, have a great day and a great weekend coming up. So